Yeah, it's really weird on YouTube and just social in general,
Yeah.
but the negative is what kind of takes off because
Unfortunately, yeah.
unfortunately, and I never want to be that guy that like, hey, I'm gonna talk bad and da da da, but
Yeah. My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. Welcome to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh. Joining us here on this episode, we're speaking to top producing real estate agent, Edgar Butler. How you doing, Ed?
doing pretty good. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Kev.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming here, man. Appreciate you. So obviously we're gonna dig into your experience, your insights in real estate, your marketing, things of that nature. But first, we got a new segment. It's an icebreaker. It's called Word Association. All right. I'm gonna throw
Okay.
out about 4 or 5 just random terms, mostly related to real estate. But I just want you to give me your first thought. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, whatever you want, but tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. All right, you ready?
That could be dangerous. All right.
All right, first one. Interest rates.
Interest rates. Okay.
Okay. Down payment.
Down payment. A lot of different possibilities.
Closing costs.
Have the seller pay them.
Development.
Loving developments in Detroit. A lot of good things happening.
Great segue. Last one. Detroit.
Detroit got so much more runway to go. Can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Great start, Mr. Butler. Appreciate that. That's something to break the ice. Now let's go ahead and get into it. First and foremost, let's start with your current market. So you are in the Metro Detroit area. Why don't you be a little bit more specific for our audience?
Yeah, so Metro Detroit, of course, but definitely specialize a little bit in the city of Detroit. So half of my buyers or sellers are going to be in the city of Detroit. The other half are going to be the metropolitan area for sure. Focused a little bit more up Woodward, the Royal Oak, Southfields, Oak Parks, this kind of area too.
Got you. Cool. If I'm not mistaken, I've gotten this information that said you have a few favorite neighborhoods around the city of Detroit. One of them being the Bagley neighborhood, one of them being the East English Village. Now, me being from Detroit also, I'm a little familiar with some of these neighborhoods, but can you describe some of the unique qualities of those specific neighborhoods and why they're your favorite?
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's we start off with Bagley for sure.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of development has been happening over there in that area of the city for sure. Ton of fix and flips are going on over there. So if I have flipper clients and they're looking for a nice flip, we can find something for them. Or if we got first time home buyers that want a nice neighborhood, decent price point, then Bagley is definitely somewhere we look at first. The city's redeveloped the whole Livernois Street up and down there. Lots of businesses
Yep.
opening up over there as well. Then right across the street, you got some of the most affluent neighborhoods in all of Detroit with Sherwood Forest, University District, Palmer Woods. So I really like that area because of that. And then East English Village for me, as a native East Sider, is probably my
Okay.
favorite neighborhood on the East Side. My grandparents had a house over there, so growing up a little bit in that neighborhood gave me a little bit of a bias. But I'm seeing a lot of people who, are shopping in Grosse Pointe, getting priced out a little bit, say, look, we cross Mac and get the same house for $100,000 less. So I'm seeing a lot of that happening. A lot of good development going on in Warren as well over there. So, they're actually even putting a Chick-fil-A over there as well. So,
Wow.
new
Okay.
news coming out.
There it is. All right, that's what's up, man. I'm even glad you brought it because we're gonna dig into it, man. You being a native Detroiter, me being a native Detroiter. You said you grew up on the east side. I grew up on the west side. You went to my rival high school, King. I went to number one Cass. Hey, I went to Cass. Yeah, yes, you got one today.
Yeah, oh boy.
But listen, like I said, I like that because you have that professional look on Detroit, as a native, and then I have a look my experience also. So you're bringing light to the side of Detroit that I'm not familiar with. As you know, like Detroit has that east side, west side divide for the most part. And you rarely kind of go over to the other side for, whatever reason, unless you work or go to school on the other side. So I'm not familiar with the East English Village, but you kind of giving a sign off on that being a nice, safe location to invest in the neighborhood, and that's good to hear.
Yeah, no, and to your point about that, growing up, you're 100% correct. I mean, when I get into real estate, I had to really learn the west side because growing up, all I knew was the east side. So
Correct. Yep.
me having to dive into all the different neighborhoods on the west side really eye opening for me for sure when I first got into real estate. So yep.
Good. All right, cool. You made a video on social media. You talked about Detroit rent control. I'm not renting in Detroit right now. I'm not in Detroit, but when I was renting. But I've
Mhm.
never heard of Detroit rent control. Can you explain a little bit more about this? What is rent control first and foremost?
Yeah, definitely. So rent control is something they have in many of the major cities around the country. But
Mm,
essentially, it sets a cap for how much landlords can increase the rent in a given property or whatnot year to year. So right
okay.
now, currently, Michigan has a law on the books that says you can't have any type of rent control, or Detroit has the law. You can't have any type of rent control in the city of Detroit. And recently, legislators have put it up forward to consider it and send it up to the governor to see if it's something that we can enact in the city of Detroit. Just because it seems like rent prices have kind of got out of hand a little bit for the average
Mm,
Detroiter, things like that. So, yep.
mm. So right now, Detroit does not have rent control, which means the landlords can raise the price at whatever exponential rate that they choose to. So rent control doesn't necessarily put a cap on how much you can charge. It's how much you can extend or increase what you're charging, correct?
Yep, exactly. So,
Okay.
best case example is like New York. You hear about these people who've lived in their same properties for 10, 20 years, and it's because they have rent control. Because if they move, then they can change their rent. But if they
Mm-hmm.
don't move, they can keep it pretty low as long as they don't move. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's play the fence real quick. Speaking from maybe, I don't know, the average Detroit resident's perspective, how can rent control be good for them?
Yeah, it's definitely very beneficial for the average Detroit resident for sure. Just because we have a wide range of incomes, and on the lower end, we definitely have a lot of them, right? So, um, being able to not have to worry about someone else buying the property and then raising the rent to push a person out, or being able to not worry about their own landlord just deciding, hey, we're going up, $300-400 a month in rent this next year. Either pay it or get out. That
Mm.
type of thing can definitely benefit a renter to make sure that you're not displaced for sure.
Right, right. Okay, so speaking on the other side of the coin, whether it's from the perspective of the average Detroit resident or maybe even a landlord, but just speak on how can rent control be bad.
Yeah. So the tough part about that is if you have the rent control, then it's going to de-incentivize landlords or investors from investing in the city. So they
Mm,
may want to buy a property and fix it up for a renter, but then they have to charge a little bit higher rate. But the math won't work out for them because they can't raise it to a rate that'll offset their costs. And so
right.
that's definitely a tough part for sure. And then even with that, once they decide to stop it developing in Detroit, then there's going to be less housing that people will actually want to live in. So yeah, that's the catch 22.
Yeah, yeah. Snowball effect right there. That's a perspective that I don't think not too many people even think about in the long run. So but yeah, thanks for bringing that to the table. Also, I know from your experience as a real estate agent, you work with EXP Realty, Brookstone Realtors, and if I'm not mistaken, you're currently with Good Company Realty.
Yep, definitely
Okay.
right here.
Okay. So somebody who's worked for multiple real estate agencies, can you compare and contrast the different company cultures and how they may have impacted your work?
Yeah, sure. I was with EXP Realty when I first got started, just trying to get started learning the business. So I wasn't there too long. And
Mm-hmm.
then and they're a cloud based brokerage. They got a whole different model. And I felt like for me getting started, I needed to be around, people. So Went to Brookstone, had a great time, learned a lot from the people that are around me and the broker at the time who owned a training company as well. And then decided that, hey, for me, going to Good Company Realty was a good opportunity to get around some others that are doing
Mm,
great in the industry and in the areas that I work in a lot more. And so that's how I ended up here. And culturally, I mean, this is probably the starkest contrast of cultures that I've been around in the industries because there's no lack of energy here. There is, always something going on, and the people here are very unique for sure. So fit right in.
nice. Nice. All right, good, man. I'm glad you found your way, man.
Right.
So, Detroit, let's get back to it. Uh, Detroit has a very interesting real estate. That's one of the most interesting real estate markets in the entire country. Like
Yeah.
some people feel like it's a great place to invest real estate in. Some people feel like it's a waste of time and money. And I feel like in most cases, that's a lot of people who are on the outside looking in. But from your experience, can you just explain some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of buyer demand and seller supply, the housing shortage, and all of that as it relates to the Metro Detroit area?
Yeah. So, like I usually tell people around the country, it's kind of two different markets. So, excuse me. The Metro Detroit market is, a little bit different. If we're talking the suburbs, the shortage
Mm-hmm.
is definitely there. It's really tough to find, good move-in ready houses at, that entry level first time home buyer price point without having a ton of competition.
Right.
So the market's still very strong for sure in Metro Detroit. Detroit, the market is still very strong as well, but we have a lot more inventory. There's kind of abundance of inventory. I'm trying to tell people that, hey, if you want a house or you want to invest in a house, we can get it for you for sure. It's just about where you want to be at and the price
Right.
point you want to be in.
Mm.
And from an investment standpoint, I mean, which last year was rated the number one cash flow market in the country. So,
Mm.
tons of investors from all over the country and the world reach out a lot to be able to invest here. And they're seeing the rise of Detroit. A lot of us closer to the city can't really see. And so
Right.
they're investing like no other for sure in the city.
Oh wow. Okay. And I like to hear that, man. I feel like that too. I've been living in Lansing actually the last 7+ years at this point now. But I am looking to invest in that Detroit market, man. And I feel like it's always a toss up. Like, yeah, you can get good homes or decent homes for probably decent prices or really affordable prices, if I'm being honest. But then you gotta kind of juggle that neighborhood kind of
Yeah,
thing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
and there's I don't even want to say very few neighborhoods, but they're probably scattered. It's a little bit more scarce to find a safe neighborhood within the city of Detroit. You know what I'm saying? Where you can find a good investment. So I'm kind of on that edge too. Maybe that's something we can talk about, off camera and off the show.
yeah,
But I am interested in finding out a little bit more about how things are going within the Metro Detroit area. I
yeah.
got
And
some
that's
numbers.
something.
Oh, go ahead. Go
Oh,
ahead, please.
no, that's saying, yeah, no, that's something that people reach out to me specifically for because, I'm going to always give it to them real and be able to help them, find those different areas within the city. There's becoming a lot more than they were in past years for sure. And that's something they lean on me going to do virtual tours, walkthroughs of the blocks, and knowing each city block to block for sure. So, yep.
Correct. Yeah, man. Cool, cool. Metro Detroit, or the Detroit as a city, it has a very large black population, right? I want to talk about statistics from the National Association of Realtors. They're saying the top reason black mortgage applicants get rejected, 33% is due to low credit score, 50% is due to the debt to income ratio. Can you give some professional advice on some ways applicants can increase their credit score and or lower their DTI, debt to income ratio, to put themselves in a better position?
Yeah, no, definitely. I know for sure, speaking, from those statistics and kind of the community, it's not paid attention to early enough on in life, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
you can't really turn back the time, but if you can teach others to be able to pay attention to it earlier and that it matters and it's important, then that can definitely, curb some of these numbers long term, right? And then from a standpoint of what you can do now is either, hey, get with the consultation firm to really go through if you're really low down there, and then if you're on the borderline, just credit cards are usually the number one thing that can
Mm.
spike or decrease your interest rate. So getting those credit cards in check, whether it's paying a little bit extra every month or making a big chunk payment to get your DTI or credit utilization under 30%,
Mm.
make a huge help because pretty much all I need to do is get you in that 580 plus range, and then we can get you pre-approved for a loan.
Oh wow. 580 plus? Are you saying 580 credit score? Is that what you just said?
Yep, exactly.
Wow.
Sometimes it's lower to be able to get a home than it is for some of these people to rent. So yeah,
Yeah. Good news right here. Dropping some gems right here on the closing table. Appreciate that, Ed. You are a very successful, thriving YouTube star, I must say so myself. As someone who's
appreciate
aspiring
that.
to do the same, but your approach to your YouTube content, can you talk about that, please?
Yeah, so I kind of felt the void at the beginning of me starting YouTube is that everything on the internet or on YouTube specifically was very negative about the city of Detroit. And I'm looking around like
Mhm.
there's a lot of good things happening here, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of introduce the good things about Detroit in the city, but while keeping it real and telling you the bad as well. So each of my
Mm.
videos, I try to give a good balance of, hey, this is what's going on really good, and hey, you still got to watch out for this.
Mm.
And it seems that it's coming across very well and genuine to my viewers, and they really appreciate it.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I'm checking out your videos, man, and some of the titles and the way you got the thumbnails, it just looks like you would kind of almost think that you talking negative about Detroit, but I know that's really not the approach. I've actually seen a few of those type of video, layouts go do pretty well. But why do you think some of your most popular videos that appear to highlight the bad or good about Detroit do so well?
Yeah, it's really weird on YouTube and just social in general,
Yeah.
but the negative is what kind of takes off because
Unfortunately, yeah.
unfortunately, and I never want to be that guy that like, hey, I'm going to talk bad and da da da, but
Yeah.
sometimes you got to just put it out there because it's going to get the most clicks. Because if I go,
Mm-hmm.
well, all the things I love about X, Y, and Z or Detroit, then like nobody's clicking that. Like, we don't care. We want to know, about what's bad, what's scary, what's crazy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'll give you a little bit of that, but hey, I'm gonna package it with some love.
There you go. There you go. They really are. It's almost like they want to kind of get more of they want to feed more off of the negativity that the mainstream media paints the picture of Detroit as. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
they're like, don't try to tell me Detroit is good when the media already said it's bad. So tell me that it's bad. And then you
yeah,
kind of hit them
exactly.
with making it seem like that on the outside, but then bringing them in with love on the inside. I like that approach, man.
No, 100%, man. And I think they get a little bit of from, like you said, the mainstream media. But even if you look at your news segment, local news, you turn it
Yeah.
on, it's always
Mm-hmm.
going to be leading with negative. It's going to be
Yeah.
mostly negative, and they're going to put a little bit of positive. But they did all positive. Nobody's watching. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But, keeping it positive though, keeping it
Yep.
positive. On a previous podcast, you mentioned something about your goal was to double your income via your home sales. I believe this was at least about a year and a half ago. So I'm curious to know,
Yep.
were you able to achieve that goal?
Yeah, actually, I believe at the time we were back in middle of 2021. I did that one, and yeah, from that year, I doubled for sure at the end of 2021, doubled from
Nice.
2020. And then in 2022, we almost did it again. We got really close. And so, yeah, it definitely a big contrast from where I was then to I am now, and hopefully
Got
grow
you.
it this year as well.
Yeah. So what did you learn in that process while you were attempting or in the process of achieving your goal? What did you learn? Key
Yeah,
things.
it's pretty much for sure keeping those goals out in front of you, tracking them, and
Mm-hmm.
making sure you know where you are and what you got to do to get to the next step. But at the same time, I feel like in my position is, as many people as you can help or take care of, then the money will follow, and the sales will follow for sure. As long as I'm doing my best every day to keep helping people and achieve their dreams, then hey, everything's gonna work out in the end for sure.
That's real, man. That's real, real, real. Glad you put that forward too, man. The goals and helping other people achieve their goals. Hey, I really want to just see if you can put something out there. Are there any, and I kind of know the answer to this question, but I want you to put it out here on this platform.
Yep.
Are there any new developments happening in Detroit that are key that people should know about that's bringing value to the city?
Yeah, and there's a ton of them actually, man. So the first one comes to mind is the Hudson site. So that's right down there in the middle of the city.
Mm-hmm.
Building up, new commercial, mixed use, residential, right in the middle of the city. The old Hudson's building was at.
Right, right.
Then the other was, they got the new, actually, oh, the Pullman Park, another condo complex in Lafayette. It's kind of near to me because it's right by King High School. So it's new
Okay.
development of condos over there.
Nice.
And then you got the right around the what's it called, the Riverwalk. They're sort
Mm-hmm.
of redeveloping it to have a large park. So that's going to be the Charles Wilson Park. Actually, it's
Wow.
going to be kind of crazy. It's already ranked the number one Riverwalk in the country.
I
So
saw
adding
that.
that, yeah, adding that's
Man.
going to make it even better, right? So
Man.
nah, man, there's no kind of shortage. I mean, I could probably go on and on about different ones that are popping up everywhere. But City Modern, those condos down there, done a lot for Midtown. It's been
Yeah.
really cool. So yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of coming for the city.
Man, I remember just maybe I want to say just 10 years ago, but that's a long time ago. It just flew by.
Yeah,
But I remember like I said, like 10 years ago, driving around downtown and looking at some of these abandoned buildings and abandoned condos and whatnot,
yeah,
and just seeing how they just flipped them around within the
yeah,
years. The big investors and developers coming to the town and believing in it and seeing the potential. And just like and they are flipping these things to some high luxury
yeah.
value residential spots too, because I'm talking about when they are out pricing, like they are
Yeah.
pricing these things is what I'm basically
Yeah.
trying to say. So
I
that
listen. I literally, which is like the Midtown ones I was just talking about. I got a video coming out about those, and man, the average price point is 800,000 on these condos, man, and this
you
is
see,
this is crazy.
yeah, in
Good to
in
see for the
Detroit.
city. Yeah, in the city,
Yeah,
we growing up here, you never would have thought it, right? But hey,
man.
there's the high end just sold for 1.2 million. So it's like, there's people with money
Woo.
that are investing in the city. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it is what it is. It is what it is. So you work so hard, man. I'm pretty sure you put the hours in, countless hours throughout the week. Do you ever see yourself retiring from real estate? And if so, what does retirement look like?
You know, I don't think I see myself retiring from real estate in general, in a
Mm.
sense, but I won't. I will retire from the real estate agent day-to-day part,
Okay.
right? So real estate is a part of me, a part of my life plan, and that's from an investing side, right? So I've invested in either about 5 houses now over the last couple years, and I'm going to continue to build that portfolio out till replaces my day-to-day income. It provides me a lifestyle that where I could comfortably retire and leave everything alone. That's the goal for me for sure. But that's part of real estate for me. So I don't think I'll ever stop buying, selling, acquiring, developing even down the road in real estate.
There it is. There it
Yep.
is. See, I love asking that question because I literally get different answers from different people. Some people never plan to retire, quote unquote. Some people
Yeah.
do plan to retire and they literally plan to like step away completely and just
Yeah.
live their life in the sunny
Disappear.
beaches somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Nah, that would be nice. I could do it for a little bit, but I'm just
yeah,
built a little bit different. Being from the city, I think that does a little bit to us too. It's like, hey, I could be on the beach for maybe a month or so, but after that, what's next?
that's what
So,
I'm saying.
yeah,
For real, man. See that, and I think that's a testament to doing what you love to do. They say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And if that's true, if you really do love what you do, I don't think you should ever be retiring, technically, right? Like maybe,
technically,
elevate or move on to a different part. Maybe you retire as a basketball player, you just become a
analyst or
TV
something.
commentator or assistant coach or something like that. But you're still
Yeah,
involved in the industry.
yeah,
So that's just my perspective. But great to
100%
hear,
agree.
man. Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thanks again for joining us here on the closing table, Ed, man, my Detroit partner and high school rivalry, man. Go ahead, do us a favor. If you have any last words, Ed, and or want to tell the people how to reach out to you, go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me for sure. You can reach me at soldbythebutler.com or on YouTube for sure. Check me out, Ed Butler Detroit.
There it is. There it is. Appreciate you again for joining us, Ed. Hey, and for you watching on YouTube right now, got to do us both a favor. Hit that like button. It looks just like this if you are watching right now. Also, hit the share button. Hit the subscribe button so you can be caught up with the latest content. And also, if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Hit the like button. Give us a 5-star rating. Subscribe for our latest content. And Ed, I'd also like to leave our audience with a question before we get up out of here. This is for you, audience. What sacrifices did you have to make to better position yourself to purchase your first home? Go ahead and drop your experience in the comments. Other than that, we'll see you next time.